Hey guys, in this video I'm going to go through cleanup crew. I'm going to talk about several of the popular items out there as far as crabs, snails, sea stars, and shrimp. Several of the popular items that many people use in their tanks, kind of what my thought is on each. And then I'm going to go through the 7 key items I have chosen to make my cleanup crew. So each of my reef tanks has these 7 key items in it that I'm going to show here in a few moments. And that's what makes up my entire cleanup crew for my tank. I'm also going to go through a few of the cleanup crew items that are popular that I would say caution on. Just for various reasons that we'll get into here in a moment. Of course, these are very popular hermit crabs here, red leg, blue leg that I've been showing. And these here are some popular snails. When I put the snails in my tank, I put them directly on the glass. So I hold them up against the glass and I let them self-stick themselves. The vast majority will do that. These particular snails are the Astraea, Astraea snails. They are one of my favorite. I have a ton of them in every one of my tanks. And this guy here is my most favorite one of them all because he's got these little feather dusters growing off him. And I've had this particular snail with all these feather dusters about 3 years. These guys live a long time and do a really good job. And for the snails that don't self-adhere themselves to the glass, I just turn like my mag float on the side and set them on there, and they take off from there. If I need to, I will set them up against the glass down on the sand bed and let them take off from there, although I don't prefer to do that because then it puts them really susceptible to the fresh batch of hermit crabs that I just put in. Usually I upgrade my items at the same time. So here's several of the popular crabs that we're going to get into. So the first up here is going to be the red leg hermit crab. Very popular, does a wonderful job keeping the tank clean, eating up all the detritus and everything else down there in the tank, and they do a wonderful job eating algae as well. Also the blue leg crab, again, red leg, blue leg, most popular one I would say in the entire hobby. They also do a wonderful job eating up all excess algae and things like that and keeping the tank really clean. Another super popular hermit crab is the Scarlet hermit crab. Very good at doing the same thing, keeping algae clean, eating the detritus. Yellow tip hermit crab, kind of on the same lines. Really, they all kind of do the same thing. And then we've got the emerald crab. Eats a lot of larger pieces. You'll see here towards the end, this isn't really one I recommend. And we also got the Sally Lightfoot crab here. Again, not really one that I'm going to recommend, but does a good job eating larger pieces, things like that. And then, of course, we got the arrow crab here. A lot of people use this to clean up bristle worms and things like that, as well as it's a pretty item. And then we got snails here. My favorite, and the one that you saw that was stuck on the glass at the beginning of the video, is this Astraea turbo snail, the cone-shaped ones. Does a wonderful job. They live a long time and keep the tank really clean. And then I also really like these Cerith snails. They also do a great job keeping the tank clean and get into those smaller crevices that the Astraea snail cannot get into. And also their shells are, when they die, great inhabitants for hermit crabs. So then we got this Nassarius snail here. These guys do really good job at keeping your sand bed aerated as they bury themselves in the sand, unless they're nighttime coming out to eat. A wildly popular Mexican turbo snail. These are the really big turbos. They eat like crazy. They eat stuff like nobody's business and clean up the tank really quickly. And then a little bit smaller, the turbo snails, which are the chestnut turbo snails, both very popular in the hobby. Other popular snails include this Margarita snail. They tend to have a pretty shell. We've also got the Bumble Bee snail here, which is a much smaller snail, gets into a lot more crevices, a lot easier. We've got these Spiny Star snails. They're very pretty. They look pretty cool in the tank. They do an okay job. Nirite snail as well. They do an okay job as well. All these guys that I'm showing here are reef safe. We've got the zebra turbo as well. And then we've got the banded Trochus here. All do similar jobs. Pretty good to keep up on what you got going on. And then the fighting conch, of course, is another great sand aerator. I included it in the snails just to have it in there. So then we're going to get into the sea stars here for a moment. So we have the Brittle star here, which is a very good starfish at eating detritus and leftover food and stuff that gets dropped in the tank. Serpent star pretty much does the same thing. It's smooth skin versus the bristles on the end. A sand sifting star, if you have a lot of sand bed, these are a great guy to keep your sand bed aerated. And then, of course, there's the green brittle. I don't recommend this one, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. Moving into the shrimp. Pretty much any of these shrimp are good. They all do about the same thing. I personally like the banded coral shrimp. Just it's bigger, it's got long whiskers on it, and it shows better. Although I have used the cleaner shrimp before. The banded coral, in my opinion, tends to live longer. Peppermints are good as well. These you aren't really going to see. They hide a lot during the day, but people use them to battle things like aptation and whatnot. And then the blood fire shrimp, also a good cleanup guy, but they're pretty aggressive, so they're going to be kept singularly, whereas some of the other ones you can combo up. So what does my cleanup crew look like? The first thing here is the red leg hermit crab. Very good cleanup crew guy. Red leg hermit crab, blue leg hermit crab. I keep a ton of these guys in the tank. When I'm stocking red and blue leg, I usually try to keep 1 per 2 gallons of water. So my 45-gallon tank, that's about 25. So when it gets down to high teens, 20-ish, I add more up to 30, and then just kind of keep managing there. Same thing with the Astraea turbo. Total snail count, I try to keep about 1 per 2 gallons of water. So that'd be about 25 in the 45-gallon tank. And similar updates to the crabs. I also keep a combination with the Cerith snail, although Cerith snail, 8 to 10. The vast majority, 20 or so of the Astraea turbos, those are the big guys for my cleanup crew. They do a great job, and they do most of the work. I do keep some Nassarius snails, 5 or so in my 45, just to help keep the sand aerated, because I don't have enough sand space for a sand sifter. I just got too many sand items. Brittle star, I do keep this guy. I just prefer it over the Serpent. I think it looks cooler when it's sticking its tentacles out, and it does a great job at eating leftover fish food, things like that. And then the coral banded, I've used the cleaner shrimp before as well. They do a good job. I've never got them to live as long as coral banded. Cleaner shrimp, usually 6 months or so. Coral banded, a few years. So this is my preference here to put in my tank. So let's go over some of the items that I caution. The first item that I caution is the Mexican turbo snail. They are big, they are strong, and if they want to move around your tank, they're going to move. They're going to knock things over. In addition to knocking things over, I've had them frag my LPS before, my hammers just pushing their way through. They knock the hammer over and it breaks. They do a great job cleaning up. They eat like nobody's business, but they are just a bull in a china shop when it comes through moving through your reef tank. And these are ones that if you have a bad breakout and you need to clean up quick, they will. But if you leave it in your tank and you stock your reef, you're gonna regret it because they are going to damage stuff. The chestnut turbos as well, just because they tend to get decent size and they are strong and will do the same darn thing. They're gonna just push through and go where they wanna go, and it doesn't matter what's in their way. I also caution the emerald crab here. A lot of people get the emerald crab because they want to cure bubble algae. This guy's not going to cure your bubble algae. They're going to eat it, but they're not going to do a good enough job to cure your problem. And the reason I don't recommend them is they tend to irritate zoas. I've had plenty of zoas that I've lost due to this guy in my tank just bothering them. And then we have the arrow crab here and the Sally Lightfoot crab. These guys both go after fish when they get big. They will snap at them, as well as the green bristle star here coming up. This guy, when it gets big, it will eat your fish as well. So that's why I caution away from all three of those guys. All right, so hope you enjoyed the video. Give me a like. Give me a subscribe. Enjoy this guy munching on some algae, and I'll get more content out soon. Thanks.